The story in Exodus 16, it's a valuable lesson for us. Here the Israelites are hungry. They've left Egypt. They're not yet in the promised land, but there's nothing to eat. And so they do what we all do when we get scared. We complain, we grumble, we worry. They tell Moses they were better off as slaves. At least in Egypt, there was food. And God responds, not with a rebuke, but with bread. Every morning, something like frost was on the ground when they woke up, thin flakes white, just enough for the day. And they called it manna, which in Hebrew essentially means, what is it? They didn't even have a name for it. They'd never seen anything like it. But notice this. On the sixth day, every week, God sent double, enough for that day and the next, because the seventh day was a rest day, and he didn't want anyone out gathering up this food. You see, he built the rest into the provision, and before they worked for it, it was already taken care of. Because their worth was never located in what they produced. It was located in who was feeding them. Centuries later, Jesus is in his own wilderness for 40 days there before he begins his ministry, and he too is hungry. And the enemy comes to him and says, you have the power. You can just make bread, meet your own need. Why wait? Why are you starving and hungry? Jesus quotes this story, reaches back to Exodus 16 and says, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And he's saying the manna was never just bread. It was a word. It was a promise that was made visible and physical every morning. God saying, I am here. I will provide. You can trust me. And Israel was meant to pick it up off the ground and hear that word. See, because Jesus understood and Jesus modeled what Israel kept forgetting. The gift was always pointing to the giver. And Lent invites us back into that same lesson, not to stop working, not to stop producing, not to stop doing the things that God's called us to do, not to pretend that the bread doesn't matter to us. It does. But to remember where our bread comes from and to let that be enough. You were cared for. You were cared for on your rest days. You were cared for even when you have nothing to show, even when your effort doesn't deliver everything. That has always been true. It was true in the wilderness. It was true for Jesus. It's true for you today. God is enough.